What you just experienced was 5 seconds passed by. 5 brief seconds that would have otherwise gone unnoticed if I didn't bring your attention to it. In the long run, it doesn't seem all that significant. But regardless, it was 5 seconds of your existence. 5 seconds you'll never get back. If you live to the age of 80, you'll get at least 2.5 billion seconds, so you don't have to worry too much about the aforementioned 5 seconds. Time as a concept is relative, therefore it is not experienced the same way by everyone. A year for a 70-year-old man might only account for 2.9% of his life, while for a 2-year-old that would account for half of his. Each day of that year would go slower for the child, each being a new experience and adventure. While for someone in their later years, they would hardly notice each day going by, spent going about their usual routines. That's where the common sentiment of the older you get, the more time seems to fly by comes from. As you grow older, each day accounts for less and less of your total lifespan, giving you the impression that time is moving faster. You can also describe time as a flow of events, from the past to the present and into the future, or in more relatable terms, your birth, this present moment, and eventually your death. Time is always moving forward, turning the present into the past and the future into the present. A year ago, today was the future, and now it's the past. The relentless march of time affects everything in existence, from the smallest hydrogen atoms to the supermassive black holes at the center of our galaxy. To make my point a bit clearer, let me show you an example of time's eternal grip on existence. Life on Earth began almost 3.7 billion years ago. Untold numbers of species evolved, thrived, survived, and died out throughout the ages, with some lasting longer than others. The iconic Tyrannosaurus rex as a species was estimated to have lived anywhere from 1.2 to 3.6 million years ago, an astounding amount of time to have lived as an apex predator, which is far longer than humans have been around. However, even he was not able to overcome the grip of time, going extinct almost 90 million years ago. Although a giant meteor crashing into the planet might have played a role in that, all things that live will eventually die and be lost to history. That is an unavoidable byproduct of existence. Perhaps the idea of time travel could remedy all this. Maybe the ability to freely travel through time would free from it, and possibly allow you to travel into the future or into any point in history. In 1971, Joseph C. Haffel, a physicist, and Richard E. Keating, an astronomer, took 4 highly accurate cesium beam atomic clocks aboard commercial airliners. They flew twice around the world, first flying eastward, then westward, and compared the clocks against others that remained at the United States Naval Observatory. When reunited, the 3 sets of clocks were found to disagree with one another. That phenomenon, or difference in the clocks that was observed, is called time dilation, although on a much smaller scale, about a few hundred billionth of a second. Completely unnoticeable to us as humans, but there is still a difference nonetheless. This experiment illustrates that time travel is possible, but only into the future. Traveling into the past, however, is much more difficult, if not impossible. The faster you go through space, the slower time moves for you relative to things that are stationary, such as with the International Space Station relative to Earth. Astronauts on the space station aged 0.0005 seconds slower after spending 6 months in space, a small but measurable amount of time. To experience time dilation in any significant way, you would need to be traveling at or very close to the speed of light. Given our current technology, we're only able to accelerate subatomic particles to that speed, a process that already requires massive amounts of energy. Alright, let's say you did have a way of traveling through time. Perhaps a spaceship that would let you travel at or very close to the speed of light. When in history would you go, and how far would you go? Starting small, you travel 100 years into the future. Technology that was once considered science fiction would become a reality. Humans will be making colonies on Mars, quantum computers will become more widely used and available, and artificial intelligence may have gained sentience at this point. But if that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll let you decide. Also, everyone you knew would be dead by now. 100 years is far longer than the average human lifespan. Every friend you've ever had, every family member you've loved would be gone. On the bright side, you get to meet their grandchildren. Most celebrities, social media influencers, and pop stars that were once idolized in the past would either be forgotten or relegated to the history books. By this time, everything you did in the past would be forgotten. Your most embarrassing moments, your greatest mistakes, and your achievements will be completely forgotten. Traveling 100 years further, you'd be greeted by slightly longer days due to the lunar times from the moon. You would also have front row seats to witness the end or perhaps the next evolution of humanity. Normal human behaviors that you're familiar with only evolved around 10,000 years ago. At this point, nothing you previously knew about human civilization would be the same. Every religion, nation, or belief would have completely given way to something different and alien to you. Even the constellation of the sky would look different, since our solar system would have moved to a vastly different location in our galaxy's orbit. Going even further, 5 million years from then, you would be witnessing the true end of human life on this planet. By this time, a supermassive asteroid would have collided with the Earth, causing another mass extinction. Or a supervolcano would have erupted, spreading ash to the atmosphere, blocking out the sun and gradually cooling the Earth. So much for global warming. Perhaps at this point humanity might have found a way to freely travel around our solar system, probably with advanced enough technology to terraform other planets. If not, humanity, as with the dinosaurs before them, will go extinct. In 5 billion years, our life-giving star, our sun, will die. First expanding into a red giant, scorching most planets in the solar system, then finally collapsing and its outer layers exploding out as a supernova. After burning brightly for around 10 billion years, our sun will eventually dim and burn out. However, you'll be treated to one of the most spectacular light shows in all the universe. Stars burn brightest at the end of their life. You travel further in time. 1 billion years from the death of our star, you would have the pleasure of witnessing our closest galactic neighbor, Andromeda, collide into our galaxy. A spectacle of stars dancing in the dark backdrop of space. And although this would throw billions of stars out of their usual orbit around the center of our galaxy, reducing potentially habitable planets like Earth into cold, barren rocks floating through space. Whatever sentient life that will be around by this time will be left floating through space without a star to provide them with heat or energy. Most parts of the universe aren't producing any new stars at this point, and with the continuous expansion of our universe, galaxies beyond our local supercluster will no longer be visible, leaving the night sky to grow even darker. Going further a few quadrillion years, all the stars in our universe would have died out, and whatever little matter or planets that are left will slowly be consumed by black holes. In a few trillion years, all the matter in the universe would have been consumed, leaving only black holes in a cold, empty void that once harbored life. Eventually, after an unimaginably long time, all the black holes in the universe will die off as well, slowly losing their mass due to Hawking radiation, gradually dying and turning into nothingness. And once the last black hole is evaporated into nothingness, you'll be left at the end of time, its only witness. Even our universe will eventually decay and die from the slow but steady march of time. The Big Bang that once gave rise to planets, stars, and sentient life will eventually be reduced to a cold, empty void. Remember when I made the illustration of 5 seconds of your life not counting for much in the long run? On the scale of the universe's life, humanity will only be around for a moment, an almost imperceptible amount of time. But even though it was just a moment, an insignificant frame in this movie we call the universe, it was our moment nonetheless.